to die. This is sin. Anyhow, don't blame it. You will.
Welcome to the second episode of the show. My name is Mick, and first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who saw the first episode. We got a great response from it. Seems like there's a lot of people out there who think it was just as funny as we did. And also quite a few who wonder how we did it. So that's what I'm gonna try and show you today. Let's just jump right into it, shall we?
We're going to somehow replace parts of the RC controller with the computer, so we'll start by examining how the controller works.
There's a white connector here going to the antenna, so this board must be a radio. And the only other connection this board has to the main board is these three wires here. And you can see I already took one of them off because this thing is already hacked. So you can see here where I did the hack. It says battery, RF and ground. So this is probably where the power for the radio comes in, and this is probably the signal.
The RC controller has two main components, a radio and a signal generator.
So all we have to do is bypass this whole main board here and pipe in a signal from our computer. You see, I left two of the wires on because the radio still needs power, so we still need to plug battery into the thing. But on two of them I had made a small cord here with a little connection on it, and that's what I'm going to try to connect to my computer. But first of all, we need to examine what kind of signal is coming in here and see if we can regenerate that on a computer. I really need one of those oscilloscopes that we used in physics class in school. Remember those? You put in some kind of electrical signal and it was drawing a waveform on a green old screen. Yeah. So I was googling around to see if I could buy one of those or borrow one of those or something like that, and I found out that I actually had one in my computer. Because almost every computer has a sound input, right? You can put in a microphone or another audio device, and then you can record the sound on your computer. And I bet you all know that if you record sound on a computer, you can make the computer display the sound wave on the screen. That's exactly the same thing as an oscilloscope, except that it has an audio input. But wait a minute, this is not an audio input, this is electrical. So if I just connect my RC controller to my computer, do I actually have an oscilloscope? I googled around and found the perfect software for this. This is my netbook running Ubuntu Linux, and for Linux there's a software called Exoscope. I bet there's also software for the Mac and for Windows as well, but this is what I use. It's pretty neat. Let me show you. You launch the application and immediately starts monitoring your audio input. So if I whistle into my computer, for example, it will show the nice wave of my beautiful whistle. You see that? Just like an oscilloscope. I connect it to the board, one to the ground, and one to the green wire that I already took off when I did the hack. The green wire comes from the signal generator main board, and that's where the signal comes from. Okay, so it's connected on the screen. There's still just a bunch of noise. There's no power on the controller yet, so if I plug in the power, I hope to see some kind of signal on the screen. Absolutely, straight away we see some kind of clear signal on the screen. Isn't that just amazing? I love it. So I want to reproduce that signal on a computer, and for that I'm using this amazing piece of hardware called an Arduino. The Arduino is just a piece of electronics that you hook up to a computer via a USB cable. You can then do some code in your computer, upload it to the chip here, and it will execute your code. It's also equipped with a bunch of analog and digital inputs and outputs. So I want to do a piece of code that just generates the minimum signal coming from there.
The signal generator board of the RC controller will be replaced by an Arduino board running our own custom code.
The Arduino code that I wrote is already on the chip, and if I connect it to the computer, it will start executing the code. So let's try that. Connect it to the 2 pins that I programmed it to output signal on. Boom, and there you see something that looks quite familiar, quite similar to what the original controller was producing. So that's our code. It looks like it works.
So using an Arduino board, we've built a connection between an RC car and a computer.
Okay, we've identified the first potential showstopper and analyzed it, and it looks like it's not going to be a showstopper. We can generate the signal, we can hack the hardware. The next potential showstopper, for me at least, is getting the input from the Nintendo Wii controllers. That's the topic for the next episode. Thanks for watching this episode, and thank you very much for our new sponsor, Morphars, for sponsoring the show. See you next time.